Have you ever wondered about the power and luxury of financial institutions, hidden behind their grand facades and marble columns? These towering structures, sprawling estates, and lavish interiors aren't just a showcase of wealth, but rather they are symbols of power, strength, and control. Banks and financial institutions are often seen as the untouchable giants of our world, the puppet masters pulling the strings behind the scenes. They're perceived as the gatekeepers of the economy, the controllers of capital, and the arbiters of who gets to prosper and who doesn't. Their marble columns and grand facades have become synonymous with stability and confidence. But where does this perception come from? It's not just about the money they control or the assets they manage. It's about the image they project, the narrative they weave. They want us to believe in their invincibility, their omnipotence. They want us to think that they're the irreplaceable cogs in the wheel of society, that without them the entire system would crumble. However, what if we were to tell you that this is not the whole story? What if there was a shocking truth hiding behind these marble columns, just waiting to be uncovered? A truth that could shake the very foundations of these institutions? Let's take a closer look. Let's delve deeper into the world of finance and banking, beyond the glitz and glamour, beyond the power suits and the boardroom meetings. Let's strip away the layers of perceived power and luxury to reveal the reality beneath. The truth is often stranger than fiction, and in this case, it might just be more shocking than you could ever imagine. So, buckle up, because we're about to embark on a journey that could change the way you see the world of finance and banking forever. But what if the power they hold is not as it seems? Can you imagine a world where people have control rather than these financial institutions? The truth about banks, once shrouded in secrecy, has been gradually unveiled. Our tale begins with ordinary individuals, just like you and me, who began to question the towering power of financial institutions. The marble columns and luxurious interiors of banks, they wondered, were they just a facade? This curiosity, this desire to understand, sparked a flame that would eventually illuminate the truth. The first revelations came in drips and drabs. Whistleblowers, individuals with courage beyond measure, started to leak information about the inner workings of these financial giants. Their accounts painted a stark picture of an industry built on exploitation, a world where the rich got richer while the rest were left to pick up the crumbs. Then came the investigative journalists, the watchdogs of our society. They took these initial threads and wove them into a tapestry that laid bare the systemic flaws within the banking industry. Their relentless pursuit of truth brought to light shocking realities. The manipulation of interest rates, the creation of artificial financial bubbles, the obscene bonuses paid out to executives while ordinary customers struggled to make ends meet. Simultaneously, financial experts began to speak out, adding weight to these revelations. They explained how banks were using their customers' money to fuel their luxury lifestyles, all while hiding behind complex jargon and convoluted financial products. They spoke about how the banking industry had become a self-serving entity, more interested in amassing wealth than serving the needs of the public. These revelations, one after the other, shook the world. A sense of disillusionment spread, a feeling of betrayal. But with this came a newfound understanding. People began to realize that they were not just pawns in the game of finance. They held power too, the power to question, to demand transparency, to seek change. The revelations shook the world, and people began to realize they were not powerless against these financial giants. The truth about banks, as it turned out, was more shocking than anyone could have imagined. The imposing marble columns and polished mahogany were merely the glossy veneer for a far grimmer reality. A reality where the scales of financial power were skewed, where the common man's hard-earned money was manipulated for the bank's extravagant luxury and status. Behind the unassuming counters and friendly service, there was a ruthless game of control unfolding, a game where the pawns were the unsuspecting public, their savings, dreams and livelihoods. Banks, the ostensible custodians of people's wealth, were in reality orchestrating a grand puppet show. The unethical practices were shocking, to say the least. From predatory lending to hidden fees, the banks had an arsenal of tricks up their sleeves. They preyed on the vulnerable, those who had little understanding of the complex jargon and the convoluted processes. They exploited trust, turned dreams into nightmares, and made fortunes from the misfortunes of others. Banks were not just financial institutions, they were powerhouses, controlling the very pulse of society. They had their fingers in every pie, shaping economies, dictating policies and influencing governments. Their power was immense, their reach far and wide, and they used it not for the greater good, but to maintain their opulence, their dominance and their control. They were not the benevolent guardians of wealth they projected themselves to be. They were more akin to puppet masters. Masters who controlled the strings of the economy, of people's lives. Masters who, while basking in their luxury, didn't think twice before pulling the rug from under the feet of the ordinary folk. This revelation shattered the image of banks as untouchable entities and sparked a revolution. A revolution that would topple the marble columns, cut the puppet strings and restore power to the rightful owners, the people. And so the tables turned. The power shifted from the banks to the people. A seismic shift, an awakening. The revelations about the banking industry sent shockwaves around the globe, sparking a revolution of unprecedented scale. Banks, once fortresses of wealth and power, were now under the scrutiny of a newly enlightened public. The people, armed with knowledge and determination, demanded transparency and accountability. They sought to reclaim the power that was rightfully theirs, power that had been hidden behind marble columns and cloaked in financial jargon for far too long. This outcry for change was not in vain. Governments, spurred by the voice of the people, enacted stringent regulations to ensure financial institutions operated in a transparent, accountable manner. Gone were the days of shadowy dealings and unchecked power. The banks were now held to account, their actions laid bare for all to see. But the changes didn't stop there. The people, now in control, demanded a fairer distribution of wealth. They sought to dismantle the age-old systems that perpetuated inequality, to create a world where wealth was not concentrated in the hands of a few. And slowly, but surely, they succeeded. New financial systems were put in place, systems that prioritized the needs of the many over the desires of the few. The wealth that once filled the coffers of the banks was now distributed more equitably, reaching corners of the world previously untouched by prosperity. The luxury, once the exclusive domain of the banking elite, was now within reach of the common man. The people, once powerless, were now in control. They had taken the power from the banks and in doing so had created a world that was fairer, more equitable. A world where the power of the people was not just a slogan, but a reality. In the end, the truth about banks led to a happier, more equitable world. And the power and luxury once held by these institutions, now it's in the hands of the people.